Aside from exposure and lighting, composition plays a vital role in all types of photography. Composition reflects what you want to focus on. Good composition can guide the viewer's eyes to the object that you want them to look at. This can be done through flow, balance, and direction. Having good composition creates an aesthetically pleasing image. Some tips that you can use to make your photos better include the rule of thirds. The rule of thirds is a way that you can frame the photo. The rule of thirds splits the frame into 3 parts. Following the rule of thirds places the subject on either the right or the left side of the frame. The subject would be in one of the thirds, leaving the other 2 thirds more open. A way to easily follow the rule of thirds is to turn the grid lights on. If it isn't already on, this can be easily found in the settings of your camera. Another tip would be to use natural lines. Lines can be used to lead the viewer's eyes to the subject. These lines can either be obvious or very subtle. Like the rule of thirds, this composition tool can be used to create balance and tell a story that can be used in all types of photography. There are many types of leading lines. There are horizontal lines, which are mainly used in landscape photography. They can lead the viewer's eyes across the photo. Next, there are also vertical lines. There are lots of vertical lines in places like cities, such as lampposts, street signs, and buildings. These can also be found in nature, for example, trees or mountains. These lines are used to guide the eyes to the top or the bottom of the picture. Diagonal lines are used to give a sense of movement. They can make the image look larger than it is. When 2 diagonal lines meet a point, the eyes are drawn to that area. Just like horizontal lines, curved lines are mostly used in landscape photography. Curved lines are good for directing the viewer's eyes throughout the whole image. Despite all this, keep in mind that just because you see leading lines that you should take a picture of it. Leading lines does not make a picture great, but enhances an already compelling one. Another composition tip is to move around and try to find the different angles to take pictures. This may seem simple, but taking the photo from different perspectives can make the difference between a simple photo and a compelling one. Depth of field is something I mentioned very briefly in the previous video. Depth of field is a range of distances in a photo that appear sharp. In simpler terms, a shallow depth of field means that only a small part of the whole image is in focus, while a deeper depth of field means that a larger or even the whole image is in focus. Aperture is one of the main things that control depth of field. A large aperture, which corresponds with a small f-stop number, results in a shallow depth of field, and a small aperture, which corresponds with a large f-stop number, results in a deep depth of field. Another important factor that controls depth of field is the distance between your camera and the subject you're photographing. The closer the subject is to the camera, the shallower the depth of field will become. Before taking the photo, you can preview the depth of field by pressing the preview button on your camera. Many DSLR cameras have this feature, and you should be using it to your advantage. A forensic photographer should be able to move quickly. They should be able to quickly capture the scene to maintain how it originally was. Disturbances can occur because of weather. For example, heavy rain can wash away any footprints or tire tracks that can be used as evidence. It is also important to photograph the evidence in the way that it was found. For example, when lifting fingerprints to bring to the lab for further analysis, the fingerprints can be damaged. So by having a picture of it before it was moved, the original condition is preserved. When taking pictures of crime scenes and evidence, a forensic photographer should take 3 types of photos. The first is an overview photo. This should cover the outside of the building, any exits and entrances, and the overall location. Next are the mid-range photos, where the evidence should be photographed close enough to show its relationship with the furniture and other things near it. Lastly are the close-up photos. The close-up photos are used to picture identifying marks like scars and tool marks. When taking close-up photos, photographers use a ruler and a shot to help with the scale.